Hi, and welcome back to Resilience Unravelled. It's always my joy to interview and meet different people from all the way around the world and hear different accents and voices. And it's a really interesting accent tonight because we're talking to someone who I think hails originally from the east of Europe. I'm going to welcome Monika Guzak to the podcast, and she's going to tell us where in the world she is.
So I'm based in Poland and West Poland. So we always believe that we are in Central Europe still. However, I was living in 7 different countries and I'm sharing my life between Poland and Portugal. So yeah, today I'm
Ah.
connecting from Poland.
All we can say is we stand with the Polish people, and you do magnificent work at the moment in all that
Thank
you
you.
do in that part of the world. First of all, Monica, you better tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm intercultural business trainer. I'm also coach, which as I would say, like my mission is to bring more joy and resilience through diversity as well to business. So embracing our cultural heritage and as well taking and learning from different generations.
Okay, fantastic. Like everything you've just said there, especially different generations. Talk to me a bit more about the work that you do. So you're a coach, you say, and you talk about diversity. So what do you mean by that?
By diversity, I mean influence on business, on our daily life through where we're coming from. And this is what I also said, social diversity. I'm also a researcher at Poznan University of Economics and Business. So I love to study this topic. I love to experience this topic because my background is, of course, in business. And then I find out that I don't understand some processes. So then I jump a little bit to academia to search what is really going on. And now as well from other side, I can support leaders and organizations to build more resilient and I would say empathetic organizations and cultures.
It's interesting. So just stay on the diversity side, because at the moment it's not a very popular subject, isn't it? It's getting wound down in lots of organizations.
Yeah, I would say that in our area, so also like from some European and Central European, it's very, I would say, hot topic still. We are learning about what we can take from each other. And I would even much more say that we don't use that much word like diversity, resilience. This is a new word. I would say that we just try to see human by human who we are and looking from this individualistic perspective.
Yeah. It's interesting that lots of studies from about resilience come from Francesca's orphans. They are from Central and Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff going on over there.
And
And
we
it's
are really
interesting.
resilient, I would say.
Yeah, but also that the word isn't used much because there's a different attitude in Central and Eastern Europe. Do you get a sense that there are, and this is a really impossible question to answer, but do you get a sense that different nations are more or less resilient than others?
I believe that something would definitely influence our resilience and natural resilience, because this is also a feature which we can train. It's our past, it's our history. And if we
Mm.
look at this part of the world, we always had to fight for our freedom, for our independence, who we are, what we are believing in, and so on. I would say that we naturally are very resilient to all challenges and even it showed pandemic war in Ukraine because of course Poland was and still is influenced by the fear which it's in society and as well inflation and so on. So I would say that naturally, yes, we do. And I believe that it has impact because I see living also in different parts of the world. So of course, it depending how we understand resilience, if it's just bouncing back or is this also parts of access to your emotions and so on, because this is something what we are learning to be proud of ourselves. We are learning to openly speak about what we are good at.
Mm.
It's not only about being able to fight and achieve and exactly bouncing back after some difficulties.
Yes, that's the bit that people forget, isn't it? Where
Yeah,
there's two sides to resilience. One which is bouncing back, as you said, bouncing forward, as we call it. But the other thing
yes.
is this side of how you live life and face challenges. And part of that is we spend too long, I think, seeing our successes as being luck, and we spend too much time seeing to over attributing failure to ourselves. And this is Seligman's idea of learned helplessness and such. And this idea of celebrating who we are and what we stand for is really important, isn't it? Because, and I wonder if quite a lot of Europeans are quite buttoned up in that sense. We don't celebrate, we're not proud enough. We're proud of the oddest things. And
Oh,
especially in Britain, we were quite acerbic about our own triumphs. We revel in what we did 55, 75, 80, 100 years ago. No one seems to think that we've actually got a really great country and we live in a great place and we have these massive freedoms which are being eroded because we don't fight for them. And I think that's the point about your past, isn't it? When you fought for your own democracy, you tend to value it a bit more. And that gives you something to stand behind and celebrate, doesn't it?
yes and no, I would say from our perspective, because yeah, this is something what we are fighting for, but in other hand, it's something what we always were in this mode of fighting. So we don't really celebrate daily
Yeah.
life. And I would say that nowadays we are in the moment we start really appreciating our own country, seeing that we have really well developed economy, that Poland is truly beautiful country. Even for me, living almost 10 years abroad and then coming back, and at the beginning, I was like, I don't want to be here. I want to be in another place. And after that, I was realizing like, wow, I have here everything. So I would say that this is something what we are learning from the society perspective. And we are also really learning what means celebrating life, to not to work hard. Because if you are growing up in a post-communist country, then the only thing which you might remember is that there is nothing in the shops that you need to
Yeah.
keep. So then we didn't have access to a lot of goods which probably you had. And that's why I would say that now it's the moment, last few years, where we really start seeing the value of where we are, what we have around us. So we don't need to just rush in our achievements and not having time to appreciate them. But now as well sit and say, wow, I have a really good life.
But it's not just about what we have, possessions and material stuff. It's
Yeah.
that freedom of thought, isn't it? It's
Oh,
that being able
definitely.
to, that's the key, isn't it? It's this idea that you and I can have this conversation without somebody listening in or judging or censoring things that we can and can't say. And those freedoms are hard won, hard fought for and easily lost as well. And I think we're seeing that in different parts of the world. You look at people who are being their spirit is being crushed because of the sort of political regime they're under. It's very, we have to look after these things. So yes, it's interesting, isn't it? But I know you talk more about joy than
Yes.
resilience in your world. So talk to me a little bit about the joy work.
After a lot of years of just really rushing and seeing the resilience as a fight, and that we need to do a lot of to have, to feel, to be, and so on, I would love to bring as well more joy and playfulness to organizations. And I'm also using Lego Serious Play, art therapy tools, where through going to unconscious mind, we can discover what we really want, what people are driven. I'm also Jungian coach. What are our shadows, which sometimes are blocking us, and as well what is in the light. So what we should do more or be more, because this is also about doing and being. And this joy of small things even around us, I would say it's very crucial, because this is what is bringing us, I'm calling it inner fire, so that every day we have energy to wake up and smile and do what we want to do.
There may be some people out there who don't know about the Lego thing. So do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Definitely, it's super cool. I would believe that most of us have
Of course.
ever used some Lego. And through Lego, you can just build wherever it's the topic of the workshop, of coaching, and so on. You use your hands to think. So you don't use your conscious mind and answering questions, for example. You can build. So I'm always saying that you can build your success, your happiness, wherever it is. And then through questions and noticing that maybe some colors mean something, or maybe what you build, it has some deeper meaning. We can really find out what it's needed in your life or in organization. So you can use Lego not only for individual work, but as well to build a strategy, to see stakeholders and what they need, what are the connections. So
Mm.
it's really, I would say, powerful tool, which allows us to see, I would say, topics more wider, and not only from this very conscious way that we calculate everything and using the Excel templates and so on.
Yes. And it's the power of metaphor is really important
Yeah.
there, isn't it? And yeah, it's interesting. So you talked earlier about the light side and the dark side. So what did you mean by that?
I mean that a lot of people focus only on how to be, I don't know, more bold or how to be more assertive and so on, but they don't see that sometimes through these behaviors, they are also stuck in some different areas. So let's say, even from my today coaching session, that one board member said that he can control his emotions in front of his team, for example, but then when his colleague from Italy is calling, then all emotions are flowing, I would say, in the room, which is not good. He said that it cost him a lot of energy because they together open up each other's. So I would say that each of us, we have some shadows, which sometimes exactly we are trying to control and having poker face, and then we are putting some needles to other people. Or the same if we want to, we're doing some things, let's say always trying to be perfect, but then the cost is somewhere else. We try to take a lot of decisions, but we feel that we can't. So it means that we need also look in the shadows, because maybe there is some I would say innocent or any other persona who is stopping us from this.
You're fully in the world of young there, aren't you? If
Yes.
you're thoroughly, we're celebrating a full-on young fan. That's very good to
Yes.
hear. That's interesting. So you talk about this thing about emotions and this leader saying it's the cost of dealing with the Italian person because it's all emotional. But that's all part of authenticity, isn't it? Basically just being yourself and allowing yourself to have those emotions and such like. This I'm interested in your view in that because I've always had this problem with authenticity, and people talk about just being yourself, and then people say that's all very well, but you shouldn't be yourself at the same time. So
Yeah,
talk to me about that.
and what does it mean to be yourself? Sometimes
Yeah.
we have different, I would say, masks, and then we even by ourselves, it's difficult for us to figure out what is really going on. And that's why I'm saying this, because when we talk about emotions, of course, culture creates as well the, I would say, space how we can express our emotions. I love workshops, for example, when I have participants from different parts of the world. And I remember one when there were participants exactly from Italy, from Spain, from Poland, and from Asian countries. And our colleagues from Italy and Spain, they said, oh, we are good with expressing emotions, but nobody told us, how to stop them somehow, how to,
Mm.
where is the border, like how we can navigate them. In Poland, we are learning to express emotions, to name them, to see where we're feeling them and what is really going on. And of course, in Asia, we know that there's very important as well not to show emotions, because then you lose face. From this perspective, I would say that it depending as well what is your background, and expressing emotions, it's extremely important, but as well doing this in a healthy way that we respect other people and ourselves. Even as I gave this example of Italian colleague, this person is French, so that's why he said that they both together, they can express this more, because in his normal workforce, it's impossible because people, they don't understand what is really going on. And that's why if in certain cultures people express emotions, other might be overwhelmed and not understand. But even from Polish perspective, we really look into Italians because we are like, wow, they can do it and they can enjoy life, dolce vita and so on. So this is also coming back to Jung. It's our kind of shadow that we also would love to do it, but we are learning.
And that's true, but sometimes we need to celebrate our differences and stay away from being homogenized and actually everyone being the same. And sometimes you need the conflict that comes from, and the creative conflict that comes from difference, don't you? So the fact that some people don't express emotions, some people express a lot, there's no need to be the same. What you need to do is celebrate the fact that you're different and let that run. Sometimes you need to get a word in edgeways if you're with Italians, but the fact is that you need to figure out a work of collaborating with different styles, don't you? That's the point. And most people end up with a sort of a peculiar corporate speak way of looking at culture and trying to make things work, which always goes at odds with authenticity.
I
I wonder what you think.
fully agree what you said. That we need to celebrate this and also see what we can learn from each other. because if one person can express more, then we also became more expressive after a certain time, because we are learning through observing people. So this is also mirroring, right? Some emotions and some behaviors. I would say the matter is just this is what you said, accept and see what we can do with it. Because if one person is expressing, other is frozen after this because it's overwhelmed, for example, then of course this is not something what I believe anybody would like to experience. But if there is a space for, I would say, controlled emotion boost, and each, I would say, even arguments and so on can create a beautiful results, because then anger pushes us to change. So I fully agree what you said.
Well, it is interesting, though, that, all right, yes, Central Europe, we'll say that for the minute, but you're very close to the Arabic lands. You're very low, close to what used to be the sort of Middle East and all those sorts of places down, a bit further down. And it's interesting how we're still pushing Western, very old Western ideas of psychology and worldview into countries. I work in Africa, and all I hear about is the big American thinkers. And I'm thinking to myself, but the world's different now. Why aren't we talking about Chinese ideas? Why aren't we looking at religious symbolism and philosophy from the Asian countries? The Philippines, the Japanese have great ancient traditions. And it's interesting that we very rarely seem to be learning from those cultures. We always seem to be getting this slurry of ideas. And they're always old ideas, aren't they, flowing out of the States and our own culture as well. So I'm just wondering, I always wonder whether we're stuck in this paradigm of the sort of West 1940s culture. I just wonder when we're going to break that and get something new. You're part of this new generation. So I'm looking at you, Monika, and thinking, how do you become open to those new ideas?
But it's funny for me. Firstly, I went to Asia, then to US. So maybe this is also what my generation is doing. But I believe that one thing is marketing, who can speak louder and more open about their ideas and so on. And we can see that in Asia, they don't need to scream and pop up some advertisement, they just be. And this is what nowadays, my generation as well, we are really missing, because so I'm Y generation, but as well with a lot of features of overworking ourselves, working super hard. This is also what I made a research about, that we are the first generation under 30, which we had, I would say, medically proved that with burnouts, which was not ever before happened especially in my country as well. Probably it was because diagnoses were not that popular. But this is something what a lot of people in my age, they start after they 35, I would say 35 and so on, going to Asia and deciding they want to live slower. So I would say that there is this turning point, and I believe that this is something what we need to learn to combine two words. So sometimes if we want, some for fast pace and so on, so we can look to Western world, and as well if we want to be just exactly what I said, look into Eastern. Another thing, it's also in academia. So there was I would say, big movement. I was also head of one NGO organization, an intercultural ward for scientists and trainers. And during our congresses, we really openly start saying like why we always quote and in our papers American only studies. We need to look also for other ones, especially in this intercultural world. This is very important to see other perspectives. And one thing is that there was or no access, or way less access to full articles and so on. But I would say nowadays as well, even the researchers or groups of researchers which I'm in, we start, I would say, embracing both sides. And so this is only about our awareness and what is easier. Because of course, if we just use Google or any other platform, of course that American, for example, papers will go up the first.
Of course. Interesting. You're the hope of the generation. So thank goodness that you're doing what you do. If people want to reach out and contact you and find out more about what you do, where will they find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. So just write Monika Guzak, or as well on my website, monikaguzak.com. And I will look forward to hear as well from your perspective how it's in other countries, not only which we mentioned.
Good. It's lovely to hear such a positive voice from your generation and being so open to different cultural influences, even though you're firmly rooted in Carl Jung. So it's been an absolute joy to talk to you tonight. So, Monika, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure to have the possibility to exchange our thoughts.
You take care.